Before we get into it, I just wanted to say this is my first shot at a big scripted retrospective / essay type video. I put a lot of work and passion into this and it took me weeks to make and research, so I hope you guys really enjoy it. I know I make a lot of quick cut and let's play type content, but believe it or not, at my off time I actually love these types of videos. Retrospectives, essays, critiques and reviews, opinion pieces, things of that sort. I've always wanted to try making something like this because it intrigued me so much. I was just never confident enough in my skills to actually go ahead and do it, but here we are, I'm finally trying it. That said, I hope you guys enjoy, and if you want to see more content like this, I mean, I'm not even gonna say it, every YouTuber says it, you know what to do. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's get into it. Call of Duty Zombies should not have happened and should not exist. This all started as just a fun little side project by Jimmy Zielinski, who would go on to be the creative director for Zombies up until the end of Black Ops 2, Jason Blundell, who was creative director from halfway through BO2 until the end of BO4, and Jesse Snyder and others who took interest in the project throughout the studio. This mode took a ton of time to make, but it was time that they really didn't have to spend considering they were already under a ton of crunch from Activision trying to just get this game out the door on time as is. It took many sleepless nights alongside working behind the backs of the leads at Treyarch and moreover Activision. Nobody even knew about this mode until it was almost done. Regardless, they were so passionate and believed in this mode so much though that they continued to work regardless of their circumstances. Believe it or not, this mode was almost cancelled too, even though it was basically done with development at that point. World at War was already behind schedule as it was and would barely be finished in time for when it needed to be on store shelves, and in fact, Mark Lamia was on his way to tell them to shut the project down and to revert their time and efforts into finishing the main game. However, that's when he decided to sit down and play it. Needless to say, 10 minutes later, the team was encouraged to keep working on this side mode. Convincing Activision to allow them to keep working on this mode wasn't as hard as originally thought, especially once they heard how literally every single person on the dev team was in love with this mode. The real problem came down to how to market this brand new game mode, a game series that was so keen on sticking to gritty, realistic, immersive war stories and multiplayer. But needless to say, once players beat the campaign and played this mode and Treyarch had released a trailer for it, regardless of initial skepticism, it didn't take long for people to truly fall in love with this mode. I'd keep talking about the behind the scenes stuff, but there's plenty of other channels that have covered this way better than I could ever hope to. But I still wanted to include some background and history to give you guys some insight into just how special this mode really is and how it evolved from a small, fun, passion-filled side mode into something that is almost as big as the main franchise that this mode is tied to. Now, let's move on to the primary focus of this video, that of course being the maps, the gameplay, and an overall rehash, review, and analysis of this absolute timeless gem that started it all. You wake up on an airfield, vision coming in and out. You see a wrecked plane along with many shambling, limping, lifeless silhouettes off in the distance. Your vision continues to fade in and out until one of these bodies gets closer and closer and closer until it is full on sprinting. The undead creature reaches you and the screen cuts to black. Then the iconic mic drop title card fades in. Nazi Zombies. You start the game with a cult, drawings of weapons are on the wall, barricades, and a tally at the bottom left signifying what round of zombies you are on. As you will soon find out, the more zombies you kill, more tallies are added until you surpass round 10, at which it turns to normal numbers. You also realize the further in the rounds you progress, the harder, faster, stronger, and more threatening these zombies get. There's not much to this map. There's only 3 rooms: spawn, the room behind the help door housing the mystery box along with better weapons available to purchase on the wall compared to the spawn area, and then the upstairs has a cabinet housing a scoped Car 98K and a few more wall buys, and a beautiful corner just begging for you to sit in it. This is the corner most people utilize when camping on this map, and honestly, I'm not ashamed to admit that due to the absolute buggy mechanics of the zombies sucking you in upon you breathing within 10 inches of their vicinity, I tend to camp here rather than the alternative being training in either the spawn room or taking a bit of a higher risk and training in the mystery box room. For most players, your first handful of games will just be trying to come to grips with this game's mechanics, the movement, the way the rounds, your guns, and zombie strength relate to each other, and other elements exclusive to this game mode. For example, the drawings that magically supply you with weapons and ammo, and of course the iconic mystery box. The mystery box requires more gambling than your typical trip to Vegas, but if you invest into it enough and continuously spin it with a sprinkle of luck, you will be blessed with the many powerful tools and weapons that are withheld in this box. To name a few: the MG42, trench gun, the PPSH, God tier gun, by the way, the first wonder weapon and arguably the most iconic zombies weapon ever, the ray gun. Though this thing is incredibly lethal considering its splash damage if you utilize it correctly, it is also pretty lethal against the player. Even if you tap yourself once with the splash damage, you're dead, you're done, game over. Which means you're probably more likely to kill yourself with it over anything else. It's one of those high risk, high reward situations. But finally, my personal favorite, the Springfield. I can't even joke like that. This gun is an absolute disgrace. While this may sound like a lot on the surface, it is absolutely nothing compared to what we would see in future installments, let alone everything we'd see in the next expansion on the mode. So if you think this is almost overwhelming in any way, you best strap in or simply hop out now, because through the rest of this game, and especially in future installments, this is quite literally nothing compared to what is to come. This map is the definition of humble beginnings. With its development history and the fact that it was only an Easter egg earned through beating the campaign, this mode had no reason to succeed, but thankfully it did. This mode shaped me and many other people's childhoods and lives even to this day. I've been playing this game for over half of my life, going on literally 13 years, and still love it just as much as the first time I played it. Anyway, before I go on a whole nostalgia trip, why don't we cut to the next installment, which released 4 months after the game's initial release. Zombie Verruckt. On March 19th, 2009, the map Zombie Verruckt, which literally means insane when translated to English, was released as part of DLC 1 for World at War, the follow-up to the already instant classic Nacht der Untoten. Verruckt takes place on the multiplayer map that is already in the game called Asylum. However, the layout is the only similarity these two share. The noises, atmosphere, and everything is just completely different here. Haunting screams of the damned fill the air. There are ovens where people were once fried to death. Dentist torture chairs, and the noises of the victims put through literal hell here can still be heard. The zombies lurk and slowly stumble towards the barriers from the courtyard and from far out in the surrounding forest. Though this slow stumbling will not last for long, as this map is home to the fastest sprinters in zombies, period. Well, until later installments, that is. The crack-fueled zombies in Call of Duty Vanguard. Pair that up with the tight corridors and claustrophobic narrow hallways and you're in for one hell of a time. This map is almost impossible to camp on and even more impossible to train on. Unless you're one of those insane Mountain Dew fueled hype beasts that can hit round 50 and only the spawn room, how this is possible, I'll never understand. This map is simply the definition of horror, and is easily the scariest and most horrific map in all of Call of Duty Zombies by a long shot. Outside of the amazing atmosphere and aura found in this map, it was also the birthplace of many mainstay features in COD Zombies for future installments. Some of the notable features being the teddy bear, a bear that'll show up in the mystery box when you spun it too much and it decides it wants to move to a different spot in the map, a power switch, dear God, I hope I don't have to explain what a power switch is, traps, notably the electric trap right next to double tap, the first Easter egg song, Lullaby of a Dead Man, and unfortunately, I cannot play this absolute masterpiece of a song for you due to copyright restrictions, but this can be activated by flushing a toilet 3 times and can also be heard on the game over screen when you die. This map also introduced arguably one of the most unique and iconic features in Zombies: perk Acolas. This map introduced us to 4 perks which would go on to be the community's favorites, and rarely would you see people diverge or purchase any perks besides these 4, despite how many would be introduced in later installments. This leading to the BO4 perk system, but yikes, we'll cover that when we get there in a couple of videos. The perks introduced here are Juggernog, giving you double your original health, though a funny bug in this map specifically can cause you to have 5 times the health in some cases and be near invincible. It is absolutely hilarious to see. The next perk, Quick Revive, allows you to revive teammates faster in co-op. Unfortunately though, the self-revive feature in solo matches wouldn't be introduced until Black Ops 1, so despite this perk's introduction, you're still stuck to only 1 life. And in World at War, with all of its glitchy mechanics and its glitchy engine, kinda stings. The next perk was Double Tap. Simply, it doubles your fire rate. Most people don't like Double Tap 1.0, but I'm okay with being in the minority and saying I kinda love this perk. Obviously not as much as the 2.0 version we'd see later, but it's still pretty great, specifically for the slower fire rate guns like say the STG or shotguns, LMGs, etc. And finally, Speed Cola. You reload twice as fast, and a little feature most people don't know about somehow is it doubles the speed at which you can rebuild barriers. Strangely, this feature is in every single Black Ops game except BO2, which is a little strange. Anyway, what more can I say though? This map is simply amazing and was the catalyst for many things to come. Nacht der Untoten may have been the first step for Call of Duty Zombies, but Verruckt was the giant leap, and there was no sign of slowing down when it came to the massive innovations coming with each installment, which I think segues us pretty well into DLC 2 Shi No Numa, aka Swamp of the Dead. June 11th, 2009, Shi No Numa was released as part of DLC 2. There's a good bit to this map, so let's dig in. First and arguably most importantly, the characters. This map introduced us to our main crew that would go on to be the fan favorite to this day. Tank Dempsey, an American Marine that swears like crazy and likes to break the fourth wall in almost every single quote. Nikolai Belinsky, a drunk Russian that has had more wives than he can count and can't be seen without his vodka. Takeo Masaki, arguably the least favorite of the crew until Zetsubo established him as an equal part of the crew years later. He's your typical Japanese warrior doing his duty for the Emperor and his honor, you get the gist. And Dr. Edward Richthofen, an insane German who knows more than the rest of his crew and is certainly the most mysterious and has many secrets. An interesting crew for sure, each member from a different faction from the war. Ironic how they end up being such a kick-ass team and against all odds becoming literal best friends. Another thing introduced here are the radios, which are home to many quotes, recordings, and codes that work to establish the story they were planning to build on, and oh my, this story became so much bigger than anybody could have ever imagined, considering it all started with a few radios sprinkled throughout this map. With that introduction to our main crew and story out of the way, let's talk about the map. Let's start with the map's layout. This was the first Zombies map to have an original layout and map that wasn't derived from the multiplayer or campaign. The structure is simple but clean and effective. You spawn in the middle hut, and on all four corners of this middle hut are walkways to other huts. Simple, but effective. Also to note, the mystery box makes a swift and beautiful return and will be in every Zombies map, even non-Treyarch ones going forward. Most of the previously mentioned swampy areas between huts serve as good spots to either hold out or train up the zombies to get to high rounds, which leads us perfectly into one of the biggest things this map began to popularize. In the community up to this point, when it came to getting to high rounds, the majority would find a place to bunker down and hold out and see how far they could get, aka camping. However, this map didn't have many ideal spots to do this. Thus, those few people that learned early on how to effectively manipulate the zombies' pathing system in order to group them up and take them down all at once, aka training, had their strategies become much more popular during this time, especially once people saw how this way of playing was actually more effective than camping in most cases. Enter the Flogger training circle and the comms room training path. These two spots would be the most popular spots to train up the zombies, and to this day are the two most popular spots. Some people have even used these to achieve insane and unforeseen rounds that would be borderline impossible on most maps, literally reaching round 10,000. Though this is only possible because of World at War's limit on how many zombies can spawn, that being 24 per round. However, this was only a feature on the first three maps we have discussed, because in the next installment, this feature was removed and the spawn cap per round was much higher, especially in the higher rounds going forward. That is why world records on these first three maps are so much higher than the records seen even on the final map in this game. But back to the layout of the map. At the end of these branching paths are huts, and inside of these huts are the 4 perks from the previous map. However, there's a twist. You will have no idea what perks are inside each hut until you open the doors to each one, as they are randomized upon each subsequent playthrough, bringing a fun dynamic to each session considering each time is different in that way, thus making the setup process different each time as there are countless different orders and combinations of which hut the perks will be in. This map also introduced new traps, most notably the Flogger, a staple of zombie traps at this point, satisfyingly flinging the zombies every which way as they run through it, and the other one isn't as much of a trap as it is a getaway, the zipline. For 1500 points you can hop on the zipline and get away from a horde of zombies in a pinch, though it only takes you about 100 feet away from where you were and back to the center hut, so the zombies will catch up pretty quickly, which means you have to be on your toes and sprint away as fast as you can once the zipline reaches its destination. Also returning is the electric trap. It has the same functionality as Verruckt, though it is less useful here, seeing as you'll rarely be inside these huts to use it since they're death traps to begin with. You'll usually want to just grab your perks and dip out as fast as you can. Another thing to note is this map does not have a power switch. Yes, one map after its introduction and it was already taken out, though not permanently, as the power will be back for the next map and many more to come. Another feature that was brought back is the Easter egg songs. This song is called The One and is just as dark and beautiful as the last. I find myself listening to this in my free time and low-key getting in my feels to it for some reason. It's honestly a beautiful and great song. Another huge mainstay feature is the new boss rounds, the Hellhounds.
Come here, puppy. Got something for you.
They spawn in between rounds 5 to 7, and upon killing them all, you will receive a max ammo. They are absolutely horrifying and can be quite deadly in this game. However, in future installments, they would become no more than popcorn enemies, meaning they are very weak and serve to annoy the player more than be an actual threat. Saving the best for last though, this map introduced a new wonder weapon and what some would consider the first real wonder weapon. I'll let Richtofen tell you what this baby's called. Yeah, this thing packs a punch. Even if you've never played zombies, you've at least heard this name or seen it in action. The look, feel, sound, and everything about this weapon is simply iconic. Though it's somewhat low in ammo, this thing packs infinite damage and has the ability to chain upwards of 10 zombies together, crippling and melting them electrically all at once, which means if you're smart with your shots, you'll be able to survive through the rounds long enough to get to the next dog round and get the max ammos, and ammo won't actually be an issue as long as you know what you're doing with it. This thing is simply beautiful and is admittedly one of my favorite wonder weapons. Overall, this map is pretty fun, though it is the one I return to the least in World at War, and that seems to be the general consensus just due to how easy it is. That is not to detract from its value though, as this map is still a classic and held in amazingly high regard. That being said, why don't we move on to the next and final map for this game, the most ambitious, innovative, and arguably the best map yet at this point, Der Riese, aka the Giant. August 6th, 2009, Der Riese, aka The Giant, released as part of DLC 3, the final DLC for World at War, and holy crap, did they go out with a bang. It's almost overwhelming to find a place to start, so let's begin with the returning features. First, our 4 beloved characters from Shi No Numa return in all their glory: Tank, Nikolai, Takio, and Richtofen. The next thing returning are the radios from Shi No Numa. This time they are much more plentiful though, further expanding on the story they just started a map ago, and it is here where it starts to rapidly evolve and grow into something much bigger than a simple round-based survival mode. Also returning are the Hellhounds, still just as vicious and deadly as before. Of course, the Electric Trap, and unfortunately, no new traps were introduced, but considering just how much new stuff was brought to the table in this map, I don't really have any room to complain about it. Plus, who doesn't love the Electric Trap anyway? It's a staple and a fan favorite. This map also features an Easter egg song. Again, this isn't every map, but I just like to mention it as I feel some Easter egg songs go a little under the radar when they definitely shouldn't, especially the one found here on Der Riese. Beauty of Annihilation is the name of the song, and god, this song is just beautiful. One of my favorite Easter egg songs, hand down. This map also brings back the majestic Wonderwaff, and arguably, I'd say it fits the theme and aesthetic of this map even better than the last. Funny thing to note, well, not so funny when it happens to you, but this gun will take your jug. If you shoot it too close to you and you get zapped by it, your jug icon will still be there, but you won't actually have it and will go down after 2 hits. It's quite strange and is unclear if it's a glitch or a feature. Last but not least, all 4 of the perks make their return here. However, Jug is in one of the most terrifying spots in any map, and it's quite literally a death trap if you attempt to even go near it in the middle of a round. Also should mention the power switch from Verruckt is back, and that is everything that returns in this map. Now, let's dive into everything new. Let's begin with the map layout. This map takes all of the amazing layouts of all the World of War maps, takes the best aspects of them, and combines it to make one beautiful and perfect map. For example, the tight corridors of Verruckt, the bluish-gray tone and spooky mysterious atmosphere of Nacht, the branching paths from Shi No Numa, all leading to the same location of the power room eventually, but it still provides some diversity to your experience in each run. This map also embraced both styles of play in its layout, where Shi No Numa appealed to trainers and Nacht and Verruckt tended to have more spots to camp. Der Riese has both. There's a handful of decent spots to train zombies here, namely the spawn room and the bottom of the catwalk room. However, 99.9% of your runs have been and will likely be spent camping on the oh so iconic catwalk. Many, and I mean many, late 3 AM nights and all-nighters have been pulled here, just trying to achieve the highest round possible. Just talking about it makes me feel like I'm in elementary school playing with my friends, totally staying up way past my bedtime just so I can brag the next day about the rounds we got to. This is also where they introduced the monkey bomb, only retrievable through the box. This is a stuffed monkey strapped to a music box loaded with dynamite. You twist the crank on the side a few times, throw it, and all the zombies will be immediately attracted to it, and just a few minutes later, boom, bye-bye zombies. Not only is this good for clearing out some zombies, but it's especially useful to use as a distraction when you're getting overrun or you sense that you're about to be overrun. Definitely has saved me in many situations over the years. Plus, you get 3 of them, and max ammos refill them, which usually means when a max ammo pops up, I'll chuck all 3 at once and then rush in for the max ammo, leading to a massive monkey explosion. That did not sound good out loud. The monkey would go on to be in almost every map going forward. However, not always in this form factor. In later games, sometimes it's reskinned as other things, but we'll get to that when we get there. The Bowie knife also saw its introduction here. A slightly more powerful knife that remains a one-hit until round 11. It's amazing for racking up points in the early game, but serves as a high-risk, high-reward weapon considering how close you have to get to a horde of zombies to use it. The teleporter is also a new addition here. This is an expansion on the concept of a quick getaway mechanic similar to the zipline from Shi Shi No Numa. There are 3 of them and each cost 1500 points respectively to use. They are effective in near-death situations when you need a last-minute getaway, especially since activating it will cause any zombie who steps inside to be electrocuted to death, and each one will teleport you back to the spawn room, and upon teleporting, a drop will spawn right in front of you. So this can be pretty effective as long as RNG plays in your favor and you get the drops you need in a given situation. With that, this is a good segue into this map's biggest innovation that forever changed zombies and remains a staple to this day. Pack-a-Punch. To activate Pack-a-Punch, you need to link each of the 3 previously mentioned teleporters to the mainframe, and then once you do, the door comes down and this beautiful machine is unveiled. What purpose this machine serves is quite obvious just from looking at it. On the top of the machine, it shows a before picture of a flaccid ray gun, and then right next to it, an after picture of a strong erect ray gun. Dear God, why do I describe things this way? Pack-a-Punch costs 5,000 points and has many different effects. For all weapons, it has the universal effects of increasing ammo, damage, sometimes fire rate, and other abilities. For example, that 1911 you start with, yeah, throw that in here and in return you'll get a 1911 that shoots rockets. Oh, that puny semi-auto M1A1 carbine? Okay, throw that in here and get a full auto rifle in return. Meh. That OP PPSH? Throw that in here and in return you'll get the best bullet-based weapon in zombies history. The ray gun? It goes from S tier to double S tier. The Wonderwaff, doubling the mag capacity and reserve ammo? Yeah, that thing's so dangerous that I'd be scared to even hold it. Oh, that Kar 98K? Yeah, no, don't pack-a-punch that. That's just a mistake. I could go on and on about how innovative this was, and was definitely a much needed addition. This was such a huge meta shift for zombies, as you don't need to solely rely on wonder weapons anymore to get to higher rounds. Sure, at a certain point these weapons will still hit a cap out point to where it isn't as viable anymore. However, it takes much longer to get there now and lets you enjoy a bigger variety of weapons for much longer. Pack-a-punching will also apply a sick camo to your gun, and this will be a staple going forward. From BO2 onwards, each map would introduce its own Pack-a-punch camo. Along with that, Pack-a-punching changes the sound of your gunshots and changes the color of the muzzle flash. There's always a sense of excitement when putting your gun into the Pack-a-punch to see how it'll look with the camo on it and how smooth it'll look and sound when upgraded. The final thing to note when it comes to new additions is the first official Easter egg, not the first official quest, as this wouldn't come until Ascension in Black Ops 1. However, it's still notable enough that I figured I'd mention it. It's called the Flag Trap Easter egg, and all you have to do is shoot this obscure panel outside of the map behind a barrier and then go find and shoot 3 teddy bears around the map with a Pack-a-punch gun, and then boom, you did it. You don't get any rewards besides an Xbox achievement or a PSN trophy or a Steam achievement, but it does give you some story-based quotes and audio, and it's still worth doing at least once for the sake of it. Just wanted to note that if you do this in the Giant and BO3, you will actually get a reward, that being the specialist weapon, the Annihilator. So yeah, World at War was a crazy game. It was the introduction of one of the biggest things in gaming history. So big that it's easy to forget that this is just a side mode in a yearly franchise. Though this is where it began, many innovations were made and many features were introduced, and this paved the way for an absolutely revolutionary mode in gaming to flourish going forward. But we will get to that next episode, where we will be covering the next big expansion on the zombies mode in Call of Duty Black Ops 1. Hey guys, just some final thoughts here. This video took me so long to make, and as I said in the beginning, in my off time, I love watching content like this. I've always wanted to make something like this, I just never had the confidence to do so, but here we are. For my first attempt, I'm pretty proud of it. You guys will have to let me know how I did, of course. This video was written, recorded, and edited over the course of a few weeks, so if there was ever any difference in tone, delivery, editing, that will be why. I put so much love and care into making this video, so I'm praying that you guys enjoyed it and are looking forward to this series. We will be covering each of the 5 Black Ops games next, and after that, we'll go back and cover the non-Treyarch games if you guys end up enjoying these enough. That said, I'll shut up now and let you guys go. This video was long enough as is. If you're new here, I upload daily at 7 p.m. and I make a wide range of content, so hopefully I'll see you guys back here tomorrow. As always, shout out to the patrons, Karma's Fave Grandma, and Lil Booty Tap. You guys make these videos possible and allow me to do this full time. If you'd like to donate, there's links to a bunch of different sites in the description. But anyway, I love you all, and I hope you have an amazing day. Stay beautiful. Peace.